Everybody, this is Kathleen Hinesley with Exploring Dimensions for All, and today I'm going to be reading Chapter 17 of my book, Welcome to Infinity, Exploring Ancient and Modern Techniques for Collaborating with Otherworldly Beings. And the title of this chapter is Working with the Spirits of Nature. In 1962, a brave group of souls began a journey in Scotland, following advice they'd received from the spirit realm. That year, Peter and Eileen Caddy set forth for the Findhorn Bay Caravan Park in a 30-foot trailer with their 3 young sons and their colleague Dorothy McLean. Messages Eileen had been given in meditation told the group the time was right for a grand experiment. They would soon grow a garden of wonder with the help of divas and elementals. And this is footnote 1, the Findhorn Community, The Findhorn Garden, New York, Harper & Row Publishers, Inc., 1975. Following spiritual guidance received first by Eileen and then by Dorothy, the group created a garden that was to become an international model for human-spirit collaboration. By communicating with divas and nature spirits responsible for growth processes and the health of specific plants, Dorothy was able to obtain gardening instructions that would someday turn a desolate piece of land into a lush garden. The nature spirits communicated specific instructions on garden maintenance, including methods for preparing compost, advice on where and when to plant various crops, and suggestions for trimming plants. Footnote 2. Ibid. Vegetables and other plants at Findhorn would eventually grow to be much larger than average. Footnote 3, Ibid. Dorothy received communications suggesting that the Findhorn experiment may have been part of an intentional plan meant to pave the way for further collaboration among the spirit and human communities. Dorothy was told that all of nature is one, and that nature spirits welcome the chance to collaborate with human beings. Quote, "All are part of my life. Play your part in making life one again with my help." End quote. Footnote 4. And footnote 4 is Ibid, page 54. The messages Eileen received often provided guidance on improving health. For example, she was given specific instructions on initiating a proper dietary regime. Quote, "Peter is in the garden," end quote, Eileen was advised, quote, "to plant and produce high vibrational foodstuffs to be eaten by all of you to help raise your vibrations and create a light body," end quote. Footnote 5, Ibid, page 39. Eileen was told to eat more of certain foods and to avoid others. The importance of drinking water was also emphasized. Quote, "There are tremendous forces being released on the planet at this time," end quote, she was told. Quote, "Forces which are being energized by water." Water is the medium which is to be used to energize these forces. End quote. Footnote 6, Ibid, page 44. Clearly, spiritual forces at Findhorn were interested in promoting human and planetary health for the good of the human and spirit worlds alike. A similar effort was launched in the United States in 1974 when Mikhail Small-Wright, a landowner in Virginia, heard spirit voices calling to her, and I'm going to spell the first name for you. It's capital Machaelle. Her middle name is Small, spelled like the word, capital Small, and her last name is Wright, spelled with a capital W and then Right. So let me just start off again. A similar effort was launched in the United States in 1974 when Mikhail Small-Wright, a landowner in Virginia, heard spirit voices calling to her. Wright initially doubted her sanity, but felt reassured after hearing quotes from a letter in the New Testament written by St. Paul, in which he explained that voices heard by the early Christians were spiritual in nature and should not be feared. Footnote 7. Mikhail Small-Wright, Behaving as if the God in All Life Mattered, A New Age Ecology. Jeffersonton, Paralandra, Ltd., 1987, pages 87 to 88. One of the voices Wright heard began to instruct her in meditation exercises and techniques for out-of-body travel. After following this guidance for 2 years, Wright read about the miraculous experiment at Findhorn and wanted to see if she could accomplish the same thing on her property. Footnote 8, IBID, pages 90 to 100. In 1977, Wright walked outside to her land and told the nature spirits she wanted to work with them. No sooner had she announced her intent than she felt herself surrounded by spirits. Quote, I had a, single quote, crowd of voices, in single quote, coming at me, all talking at the same time, dash, all telling me that it was, single quote, about time, in single quote, in double quote. Footnote 9, IBID, page 100. In her book, Behaving as if the God in All Life Mattered, A New Age Ecology, Wright explains the difference between devas and nature spirits and how they operate. She explains that nature spirits belong to specific regional environments and are, quote, responsible for tending to the well-being of plants, animals, and minerals, end quote. And then, so that belongs to footnote 10, and the rest of this information belongs to footnote 10 too. While devas are affiliated with specific organic life forms. Footnote 10, IBID, pages 112 to 113. Wright explains, quote, if I were to desire a change in the color of the carrot, I would seek that change on the devic level. That is part of the pattern of the carrot. However, if I wish to prepare the soil and tend to the carrot perfectly, I would seek out the nature spirits for help because they work directly with existing form. End quote. Footnote 11, IBID, page 113. The quality of communication Wright was able to achieve enabled her to tackle even the most difficult gardening problems with miraculous results. When faced with a worm crisis that threatened to destroy her cabbage crop, Wright sought out the, quote, diva of the cabbage worm, end quote. She told the diva of her plans to donate 4 cabbage plants to the worms and asked its assistance in freeing the other plants of infestation. Miraculously, her request was granted the following day when she found all her cabbage plants free of worms except the 4 she had designated as worm food. Footnote 12, IBID, page 127. The experiments at Findhorn and Perelandra suggest that much can be accomplished by working with the spirits of the natural world. Could communication with spirits provide the ultimate answer to the search for non-destructive methods of farming? Could collaboration with nature spirits be the answer to protecting and potentially restoring much of the damage that has been done to the Earth's natural environment? Equally exciting are new explorations in healthcare that feature collaborative efforts between humans and non-human entities. Shamans in native cultures have traditionally relied on guidance from the spirit realm when diagnosing and treating diseases. By communicating with beings that see beyond the physical, spiritual causes are discerned that may be invisible to the human eye. All right, well, now we're going to get into territory that could easily be taken the wrong way. So, Mikhail Small-Wright actually wrote a book in which she talks about a medical process that she collaborated with a spirit being in creating. And it's called MAP, basically. That's the short form of it. There's a longer form of it, though, and it uses a term that can easily be mistaken as racist or related to white supremacy, but it actually has nothing to do with race or racism. And I explain that later on in the chapter, but unfortunately I have to use a footnote first that does use the term, so please be advised that this has nothing to do with racism or white supremacy. So here we go. All right. In 1984, Wright expanded her collaboration with Nature Intelligences to include the development of a system for healing designed to promote physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. And this is footnote 13, Mikhail Small-Wright, MAP, and that's all in capital letters, M-A-P, the Co-Creative White Brotherhood Medical Assistance Program, 2nd edition, Warrenton, Paralandra, LTD, 1994, pages 1 through 19. Okay, and that was footnote 13. She initially sought help from the White Brotherhood, a group of highly advanced beings, after experiencing health problems. Wright established communication with a being named Lorporus, who, as, quote, the head of the White Brotherhood Medical Unit, end quote, is in charge of the group's healing efforts. And this is footnote 14, IBID, page 16. Wright was told that the group's medical unit had wanted to establish a means of collaborating with human beings to improve health. Together, Lorporus and Wright worked to develop exercises that would facilitate such collaboration. The Co-Creative White Brotherhood Medical Assistance Program, and then in parentheses, MAP, spelled capital M, capital A, capital P, in parentheses, a system that developed through Wright's work with Lorporus and other spiritual entities, enables spirits to work on human energy systems to alleviate discomfort and cure disease. I have chosen to include a portion of Wright's definition of the White Brotherhood as given in her book, MAP, the Co-Creative White Brotherhood Medical Assistance Program, to clear up any potential misconceptions. Wright explains that many people have expressed concern that the group may be affiliated with a white supremacist organization. She assures readers that this is not the case and points out that the name, quote, White Brotherhood, end quote, was actually developed by human beings centuries ago. She explains that, and this is a set-aside quote, pretty long one. So she explains that the White Brotherhood is a large group of highly evolved souls dedicated to assisting the evolutionary process of moving universal reality, principles, laws, and patterns through all planes and levels of form. 4 ellipsis dots. When we link with them, they assist us by assuring that any work we do maintains its forward evolutionary motion. 3 ellipsis dots. Footnote 15. Okay, footnote 15 is IBID pages 3 to 4. I began using MAP in 1996 after experiencing a variety of difficulties with my immune system. A friend told me about Wright's book. I read it immediately and eagerly tried the exercises described within. The MAP process involves connecting with helpful spirit beings, including a personal medical team, and describing the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms that are being experienced. To an outside observer, a person may appear to be lying down and talking quite seriously to the air. The apparently one-sided conversation might go something like this. I've got a lot of mucus in my nose and it's dripping down into my throat and my head is feeling stuffy. I've also got too much work to do at the office and I'm finding it difficult to sleep because I'm always thinking of more things I've got to do. As comical as this may seem, the system works. The beings respond by working with a person's energetic systems to bring them into balance. I sometimes experience a buzzing sensation while doing MAP, or feel a sensation akin to the movement of body fluids. When I do MAP to treat a cold, for example, I can often feel mucus clearing out of my sinuses. Emotional problems I have reported seem to disappear as well. Within 24 hours of a, quote, MAP coning, end quote, I find that a kind of calmness sets in, accompanied by thoughts and feelings that bring me into balance. When I have reported job stress, for example, I've experienced new confidence and serenity that has enabled me to get through tasks without anxiety. Relationship problems I've reported to my team have been followed by increased feelings of love and acceptance, and a new awareness of my partner's needs, as well as my own. Wright explains that some people may feel sensations or hear voices while doing MAP, but stresses that the process works regardless of what is experienced. I highly recommend her book to anyone who is interested, and would counsel, as she does, against inviting a composite of assorted spirits not affiliated with the process. Wright suggests utilizing flower essences to assist in the healing process, but makes the point that one can benefit from MAP without using them. MAP has assisted me in overcoming colds and flus, relieved back pain, and helped me to better cope during emotionally difficult times. Surrogate MAP sessions I facilitated for my daughter have also produced amazing results. How can talking to seemingly invisible spirits help to improve health? Oh, here's the part where I better say I'm not a doctor, this is for entertainment purposes only, try at your own risk, etc., etc. Of course, none of that is in my book, but this is YouTube, so I thought I would just mention that. Okay, I'm going to continue. There is, of course, the possibility that it is belief in the process alone that creates an improvement in health rather than actual changes brought about by spirits. Studies have shown that improvements in attitude toward illness can contribute to better health. Thus, it is certainly possible that performing MAP could generate a placebo effect for the patient. I myself would have been tempted to accept this explanation if it hadn't been for the unusual experience I had while surrogating MAP to help my daughter overcome an ear infection she had at the age of 4. I just recently separated from my ex-husband when my daughter came down with an ear infection, which proved very difficult to treat. I tried the traditional approach first and took her to a pediatrician who prescribed amoxicillin, an antibiotic in the penicillin family. A few days after starting the medication, my daughter developed red blotchy hives all over her body. When I took her back to the doctor's office, a test confirmed that she was allergic to penicillin. The doctor was quick to recommend a substitute and wrote a prescription for Bactrim, a sulfa drug. But the next day, my daughter's babysitter called me at work and told me that my daughter's face and neck were covered with hives. We returned to the doctor's office at once and were told that my daughter was allergic to sulfa drugs as well. We were immediately given a third antibiotic to try, this time a cephalosporin. My daughter reacted to this drug as well and was finally referred to an ear, nose, and throat specialist who recommended that an immediate operation be performed. The procedure would involve putting her under general anesthesia, removing the infection manually, and then inserting tubes inside her ears to prevent further infection. I'd had a similar operation performed on me as a child and was nervous about putting my daughter through the same procedure. I remembered that Wright's book on MAP provided instructions for surrogating the process for children. Footnote 16. IBID, pages 169 to 171. I resolved to go home and see if MAP could heal my daughter's ear. Okay, once again, entertainment purposes only. Hi, YouTube. This is my personal anecdotal experience. All right, here we go. Once at home, I waited until my daughter fell asleep, connected with her MAP team and other appropriate spirits, and began moving my hands over her body according to my intuition. I have, as noted above, occasionally felt unusual sensations while performing MAP for myself. I've also heard soft voices speaking to me in whispers from time to time, but surrogating MAP for my daughter was a whole new experience. I felt my hands making motions in the air over her body and intuitively seemed right. I felt like a cook stirring the energy into a smooth, rich mixture that was more balanced and harmonious. It was quite some time before my hands felt drawn to her ears. When they did, it felt as though a bell had gone off in my head. I knew immediately that my hands were needed there, now. I held both hands over one ear at first. As I did so, I heard and felt a stream of music coming from my palms, similar to the music an orchestra would play at a symphony. I knew I wasn't hearing the music with my physical ears, yet I knew it wasn't being generated by my mind either. It seemed to be coming through me from somewhere else. I sensed that the music contained chords within it that would heal my daughter's infection. I held my hands over one ear and then the other, remaining above each ear until it felt right to move them. When the session was finished, I thanked the MAP team and closed the coning, hoping for a miracle. I got one. The next day, the pediatrician looked in my daughter's ears and pronounced them healthy. No more treatments would be needed. The infection was gone. Okay, so thank you for listening to Chapter 17 and putting up with my intermissions. YouTube's become an interesting place lately, and this is, I think, the first chapter that really has anything that I, need to be sure of the guidelines about before proceeding. But anyway, thanks again for listening, and I'll be reading Chapter 18 soon. Please give this a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day.